You are now listening to About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills. Rom Wills is an entrepreneur and personal coach who has helped people reach their fullest potential personally and professionally. Take it away, Rom.
Welcome to Rom Wills About That Business. Be prepared to adapt. I'm going to tell you what, in business, you'll have a plan. Like, it's important to have a business plan, or if you don't want to have a formal business plan, at least have an idea what you want to do. Right? At least have an idea where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do with your business, right? Like, when I'm doing videos and podcasts, right? Sometimes I have an idea what I want to do, but then some will pop up that I take it in that direction. It's actually proved to be like lucrative or popular or whatever. You have to have room for adaptation. So it's basically, yes, have the plan. That's have the blueprint, but be ready to go off that blueprint or add to it or even take away from it. Like, you might have a plan to go in a certain direction with your business. Say you have a little takeout place, a little restaurant or something. And you thinking you got like some blueberry muffins you might sell, and you thinking you got like, I don't know, some special type of cheesesteak or something, right? Yeah, I know, y'all, right? Now, you might think the cheesesteak is going to be your big seller, right? You might think it, but people come in, they all right with the cheesesteak, but they knocking those muffins out. So you got to be able to change. You got to be able to say, oh, okay, well, let's increase the number of muffins. Like, and that's a constant thing, constant. You can't just like stick to something. I know some people might they get an idea, they want to stick to it, but you got to be prepared to adapt at any moment, right? You got to be prepared to adapt. Even now, I'm known for the men's books, but when I first started, it was women's books, right? Because this was in the 90s. Anybody who remember the 90s, everything was about, like, women were the ones spending money. They still are. Ironically, when I came out with the men's books, it was women buying it at first. Ironically. Right? But, but then, there started being an increase in men who wanted stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, let me switch up. Let me switch up, right? And it's no shame in it. You're still doing the same thing. You're providing information and stuff. But, you can have an idea about your audience, an idea, right? Like demographics are very important, right? You thinking, okay, these are people going to buy my stuff, but it ain't. I'm going to use another example again with my books. When I first came out with my book, Nice Guys and Players, I really thought that a bunch of nice guys would like it. I thought women would dislike it, and I thought players would dislike it. Now, I came out with an early version of my book, Nice Guys and Players. It was originally called Nice Guys and Players Becoming a Man Black Women Want, right? And there were several black women I sold it to, maybe about 20 to 30. They were working at this government office that I was working at the time, right? So I sold it to them, and honestly, I expected to get some negative feedback. But I was just like, wanted that money and everything. I was expecting to get some negative feedback. Man, they were trying to add to it. These women were trying to add to it. These older women, they were like, hold up, you forgot about this guy. They gave me some insight. In fact, it was a lot. It was some women gave me some insight that caused me to like edit the book some. Because they were telling me more stuff. So, okay, fine. But then I still thought, okay, I'm going to help all these nice guys out here, right? They rejected the book the most. The guys who got into it were the players. The players bought it. So I had to switch up. I had to think about switching up again. I was like, hold up. That's why my next book that followed in the series, Sexual Chemistry, was actually more geared towards players. Because I was just like, wow, the guys I thought were going to buy it didn't buy it, right? But you have to be that way in business because you can, the thing is you can buy like demographic reports. You can have all of that data, and it'd be something totally different that's actually going to like put you over the top. And the reason why it's going to be different because usually when you take data, The only problem with data, right? You almost need to do a separate one, but it's static. It's tendencies, and it's also based on samples, right? It's based on samples. So, and it usually when you sample a population, you get a pretty good idea in most cases, but you always got to adjust for when people don't match the sample. Also, too, circumstances could change, right? Circumstances could change. It could be economic downturn where all of a sudden your product looks real good to people, or economic downturn when it like people are like they don't want to endorse that particular product. Cultural shift, even a presidential election, because every time a president comes in, I don't think people talk enough about how that president affects the general culture, right? So, anything could happen. You could have it in a certain neighborhood and the demographics change. For example, with gentrification, right? Now, you might have a product, like say you in a, like gentrification, that's usually like moneyed whites moving into a black neighborhood. Say you have a business that caters to those those blacks, right? The blacks in the neighborhood. But then you get a bunch of whites who move in, they want something different. They don't want your product. Now, you either have to move or adapt. So there's a lot of little stuff that can change. And in fact, you might even have something in there. Let me turn that around. Because it's not necessarily a bad thing. You might have some products in there, like the example I used, the blueberry muffin and the cheesesteak. You might get a bunch of people from Philly or something move down there. It might be some business that might have moved or something. All of a sudden, you get a demand for cheesesteaks, right? So always be prepared to adapt. So that's all I got for today. Let's go make that money.